What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring you incredible guests from all over the world. So sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is a writer, lyricist, photographer, podcast creator. He's well-traveled, seasoned Midwestern kid who began his third act in life for himself and in that for others too. 14 months ago, he's traded his suit in for a van, a mic, some questions, and started his own traveling podcast called The Jar. Please welcome Ken Stearns. Ken? Wow.
Yeah, yay. We put in the canned clapping. Deanna, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be here.
Thanks for being here. I mean, this is like that whole intro is got a lot to it. There's a lot of meat there, a lot to unpack. So yeah, I love that you traded your suit in for a van and you're kind of like on this whole journey. And, you know, as a podcast host, what we do, I think is so important by sharing our conversations to help others, right? We're trying to impact.
Yes, really is. Yeah, and it's been so the concept of the jar, the show I've got, it's called The Jar Podcast, and essentially, I took a book that I wrote and crafted 444 questions from the book. Okay, and the topics are just basically 12 topics. You know, it's about your past, how you think about your past, your present, your future. Then it's about how you deal with other people with acceptance and compassion and forgiveness, how you kind of go through humanity with karma, love, and service, you know, how you take care of the people around us, not just our direct people. And then, you know, faith, hope, and prayer. Yeah. You know, those last kind of, you know, kind of spiritual side of it. Yeah. And so there's just 12 topics, but I created 444 questions, printed them out, put them in this big jar, and we sit down with people and let their story, their personal story, come out through these human questions. Wow. And so it's such a magical moment, you know, when I sit down and they pull the first question. Mm-hmm. And there's I call it that instant regret, you know, where they're like, oh my God, these questions are real. Yeah. And, you know, they're like heavy. And there's no, you know, what's your favorite color? It just goes straight into what's, you know, when was the last time you said, I love you? Or when was the last time somebody said, I love you? Yeah. You know, these kind of questions, which really bring out the human side of people and allows us to kind of connect in a special way during the show.
Yeah, I love that. So do you do a lot of in-person episodes or
everything's in person?
Oh, okay, great.
So I started the idea of the show. I'm a bit of a kind of a goal setter, I guess, you know, from corporate life. And that kind of stuck back at me, kind of poked me back my own self. Yeah. And I created a 111 city tour. Wow. So I'm going across 111 cities in the United States, started the Pacific Northwest, went to the Northeast, and I'm now at the bottom of the seaboard. And 444 people is my target. And I'm about halfway on both.
So how do you
all face to face?
Yeah, I love it. I think this is so great. And how do you pick your guests?
A combination. So a little bit, we do a Facebook ad. Okay. So we'll put an ad in Facebook that says The Jar is coming to Atlanta. Be a guest. That's cool. And we get some great organic conversations in there. Sometimes I go through LinkedIn and I'll target particular people I may want to, you know, or an industry or kind of an angle I want to create. So I curate a little bit. Sure. And then the last one is I randomly do when I'm traveling by myself. Yeah. And I'm not living in the van. I've used the van as a kind of a travel buddy and a storage place. Stay in hotels and I eat out alone. I go down to the restaurant alone. And so I sit down with people and I have this business card which has questions on it. And I'll ask people, I'll spread them out and kind of go question of the day. Would you like a question of the day? Sure. And I'll meet people in bars and restaurants and we'll chit chat. And, you know, the next night I'm at their house sitting down with the jar.
So this is very different. I mean, so all my fellow podcasters that are out there, if you're listening, I mean, Ken has created something that's very unique to what we do because a lot of us are doing it via Zoom like we are right now. Yeah. and it's all, I mean, most podcasts are only audio, but I like to do video as well for myself. But I think it's so much better when you have an interview in person because the connection is more strong. And I feel like if through the video portion of it, people can see that it's a little bit more powerful with the conversations.
Yeah, we run a little video action, so it's an audio podcast, but we do a lot of shorts, and I have a little iPhone that I take a picture of a video of the guest. I'm going to add to that a couple more cameras on the second half because the conversation's powerful, and it is, the in-person part, Deanna, does, especially with these topics.
Yeah.
And the dialogue, can be quite emotional. I mean, some of the stories I've heard are quite powerful. There's some tough stories out there. There's some real tough things people have gone through in the last couple of years. And a lot of that's come out on the show. It's been quite interesting. It's powerful for people to share the story, and it's powerful to hear it. Yeah,
I agree. It makes people realize that they're not alone if they're going through something, that they think.
So true. This is the closing message that I get from so many guests.
Yeah.
One of the messages, you're not alone.
Yeah. Well, we're not. We're really not. I mean, I think that when we're in that bubble, when we're going through a hard time, we think that we're so alone because it's like, how do we get out? It feels so dark and so lonely and so empty, or not empty, but it's overwhelming. And so I think that when people are in that state, that emotional state, it's hard to think that, oh, someone else is going through this too, but I think once you get to that point of realizing you're not alone and other people struggle, I think that's when you have real growth that happens within you. And you're able to be compassionate towards other when you're in that state. You know what I mean?
Interesting. When you do realize you're not alone. Oh yeah. You would have tremendous compassion because you look at people and you're thinking, you're on the bus.
Yeah.
You're on the airplane. Trust me, there are, you don't have to reach very far to find somebody who's struggling. So, a little grace when we're traveling, a little grace with our friends, our neighbors, people we don't know. We don't know what people are going through.
No. And that's hard. It's hard to get to that point because, we're so, I think as a society, we're so self-involved. So if we can get to that point where we are being gracious towards others and showing some compassion in it, it helps us overall. I know it took me a long time to get there because, man, I tell you, there are several times in my life I felt the sky was falling, and I'm like, and I'm not proud of it, but in those moments, if I had to go out into the store, I was not a very friendly person because I just did, my life was crumbling around me, and so like, how do you deal with that? But now as I've grown and stuff, but I want to know why traveling. What made you want to trade in your suit, get a van, and start traveling?
Yeah, is that corporate? Part of it was kind of a combination of things, Deanna. One was getting out of corporate.
Yeah.
What's your exit strategy for getting out, as opposed to, me retiring at 65 or 67. And so when I was in my late 50s, it was that, what am I going to do for my third act?
Yeah.
What am I going to do when I'm 70? What do I want to be doing? And I'm not going to be sitting in a rocking chair or I might be writing and doing something. So, but it's, what's going to enable me to keep working? What career and what ideas can I do? And I thought, this writing the book was part of that. And on it, that was intentional. I think I shared with you before, I picked up guitar in my late 50s and used that to start writing the book as well. That kind of helped with the book and lyrics. And so I really ended up in a creative space. And that's kind of, how I ended up here, was opening up, being intentional to get out, being intentional and kind of what I call these parallel lanes of activities, writing this and writing that and trying to plan to be a public speaker and try to plan to be a podcaster. And none of them were connected. And then all of a sudden they were intertangled.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so I think that's a great message for people is do intentional things. You don't have to know the outcome.
Yeah, that's true.
Do good things. Of course, intentionally good things and things for yourself or things for other people. But things that have some potential outcome that it may not be clear. But as long as it's in the right direction, something good will happen. Magic will happen.
Yes, it does. I'm a testament to that. Like I personally, I don't, I don't have any interest in going back to corporate. I don't fit. I just don't fit. You know what I mean? So
I can't see you in corporate.
yeah. First of all, I don't know if they'd go for my hair, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. But we need people in corporate, right? We need people to,
absolutely.
fuel that machine, because that's what fuels
And
our economy.
And there's amazing people in corporate too.
Yeah. But there's some of us that just don't belong, and we have a different purpose, a different calling. And I think that, for me losing my job over a year ago was probably the best thing that ever happened. I was able to really put myself full force into something that I love, and I've been able to grow it to something that is almost sustaining me. We're not quite there yet, but I just fully believe in what I do, and I love it so much. I love having these impactful conversations with incredible people like yourself, that the magic just continues to happen and flow. And
this is it, right? You're open. You're open to it.
Give it all to me.
Yeah.
Hello, my faithful friends. This episode is brought to you by Brian Tracy. That's right. New York Times bestselling author, internationally renowned success expert, thought leader, and one of the best professional speakers today. We are offering you a 6-figure speaker free ebook. This course is designed for those who want to learn, develop, or improve the skill set required to speak confidently and effectively in front of an audience. So if you are one of these people, don't hesitate on this free offer and go click the link in bio. That's okay. I'm just curious, so how long do you plan on traveling for?
The idea is to do the 400 interviews,
right.
And 111 cities. So it looks like it's going to be early fall. I took a break at Christmas, lasted longer than I thought, longer than I planned.
Wow. Okay.
But it's been great because it's been I took a break for the right reasons. And first it was family, catch up with family. And then the other one was just to reassess where I was at halfway through.
Yeah.
And so I'll start back in about 2 weeks, and I'll finish probably around September.
To do the full 400?
Yeah.
So what number are you at now?
200. Did 200.
You're halfway there. Okay.
I'm halfway there.
Oh,
I'm halfway there.
Very
I'm halfway there. 200 interviews. I mean, when I finished in December, I thought, man, wow, I imagined a lot. I mean, I'm a big believer in, thinking through things and imagining and having this moment of I'm halfway through. What did that feel like? Where was I? What part of the country was I at? What did it feel? And all of a sudden I went, wow, I am halfway through. Holy cow, that did happen. How did that happen? I just.
Yeah. And when did you start?
I started April 4th.
Of last year?
4/4/22.
Wow.
So I started April 4th in Olympia, Washington.
Okay. Yeah.
And started with Pastor Carl. And then I went from a super conservative Christian guy to a Antifa person.
Oh my.
My first 2 interviews were on the opposite ends. And it's great because they're both such great people.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been in so many different houses and homes, apartments with people who I would completely, politically, socially, spiritually, probably, be on the opposite side of an argument.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
100% be on the opposite side of an argument. Politically, we're on the other end of a spectrum. And here we are. But you get in and talk about things in the jar, human things.
Right.
And man, we are all alike.
Yes. Yeah. We certainly are. So do you actually bring a jar and I'll have them pick a question?
See, last time I think I'll unblur my background.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, so can I virtually pick one and see
let's pick you a question.
Yeah.
Let's pick your question.
You can throw it back in there afterwards, if you need to.
Yeah. So I was just showing Deanna the jar. So there's a really long backside story to this. But the jar, I had 4 jars commissioned.
Okay.
So this is it's a real jar for the show. Oh, okay. This is a lovely, a soft, you got a kind of a softball.
Okay.
What's the sweetest thing anyone has done for you?
Sweetest thing. Oh wow! So my fiance now
I,
is probably the best man I've ever been with, and
I love it.
he does sweet things for me every day, like since I've met him. And so I can't really pinpoint one thing because he's
Yeah,
always so kind, and I mean, obviously that's why we're getting married. But
I love it.
God, I don't like. I'm drawing a blank. What's one thing? I mean, just opening the door for me when we go out. Just simple things like make.
I think just that he's the sweetest guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's a good question. I like that one.
One more.
One more. Sure. Let's do
We
it.
got time. We got time. Let's
Yeah,
see.
we got time.
Ooh, okay. Now a little bit better.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
Why do you think it's so hard for some people to let go of their past, their yesterdays?
I think, and so this is a really good one. I hate living in
I
the
love
past
this.
personally, and I think people get so comfortable with where they were, and that it's hard for them to face their future or sometimes even their present because it's not as comfortable and it could be scary for them. So, like people that never like left high school, they're still living in that high school.
Oh, that's right.
They've
Yeah.
never grown. Like, I think that there's something so maybe for that type of person, something so great, like they peaked in high school. And so now the rest of their life has never been as good.
Yes.
Whereas, I like to look at it differently. Like I feel like the best is yet to come. I think that there's these people that are stuck in the past they aren't growing spiritually, mentally, emotionally.
Totally.
You're able to let that go and kind of take all your lessons learned and appreciate it. Like that's part of your journey. That's not your destination, right? And
yes,
so
it's part of the journey.
Right. We should all be aiming to grow and be better. Being stuck in the past isn't going to do you any favors.
Yeah, and my experience too is all of that, and you're the part you said earlier about they're stuck in it because it's either comfortable, and some people are stuck in the past of bad things.
Yes,
right. They're stuck with something that happened to them, right? Yeah. Kind of air quotes to them. When we all know that just stuff happens and you got to move on. You have to just grin and bear it. I don't know what the right phrase is, but it's the past.
Yeah.
And it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. I choose to leave I haven't had the easiest life, and I choose to look at it like lessons learned, and I don't want to live there anymore because that's just toxic, like
this is the thing, right? Like really, you really still want to live there as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. So tell us how the jar, like where the idea of the jar came from.
This is one of those struggle questions. I don't know. I feel like I was a bit. I'll give you the funny version of it because I don't know the answer. The reality is, it was back to these parallel things I was doing, these intentional things, and they all came together. Okay. But I'll give you the more jokey version, the one that I kind of giggle about now, which is the title of the book I wrote is called Dear God.
Yes.
And it's a spiritual book. I lived in every major religion's country for several years. I lived overseas. I lived in a Buddhist country, a Hindu country, a Muslim country, a country with no religion.
Yeah.
And I grew up a Catholic altar boy.
Okay.
So I had, by the time I finished my Asia tour, I believed in everything and nothing. I believed in all the religions and none of them, all at the same time. So I wrote all these letters to God, kind of testing my ideas about yesterdays, about love, about faith, about, forgiveness. So I wrote all these questions, these letters like, Dear God, what is forgiveness? And then I had all these ideas what it would be to me, what it meant to me at this point in my life. And then God said, yeah, well, okay, well then, I'm not going to, you go around and ask your fellow humans what it means.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book, and then God sent me on the tour. It's kind of the joke in a way, right? But I
think that's beautiful.
But the universe is like this.
Yeah.
Now that we know, right? We know now the universe actually. Sorry, I lost my seat.
Okay.
But I think it's a beautiful kind of version of it, right? Which is,
I like it. I'm curious I'm Christian. My mom was raised Catholic, so I'm familiar with those religions, know a little bit about Hindu, Buddhist, and Islamic, but what are out of those three, Hindu, Buddhist, and Islamic, what were some surprising, maybe a surprising fact that you learned about that one of those religions?
Yeah.
Individually.
Yeah, individually. I think living in Indonesia was really interesting to me, because I went through a couple of seasons, a couple of Ramadans, and just the culture of it, right? Around the family, the spirituality of it, and what it meant, the fasting period, what Ramadan, and learning what the culture and the religion together.
Sure.
So the beautiful part about coming together, the way they break fast, the way they go into fast, and what it meant, and the prayer times and stuff, just very beautiful to me, because it was very family.
Yeah.
And community. I was very community based, and I thought, and that was a way to bring people together, which was quite interesting. And it wasn't, they don't have the God part of fear like the Christian side of it. There's not that guilt side, Christian side. It's a little bit different. It's more communal. So very interesting. Thailand, very spiritual but very private.
How do you mean?
Until they don't wear it on their sleeve. And Buddha's everywhere. Buddha's everywhere, right? So that's there, but nobody is religious. Now, until you go to the temple. And when you go to the temple with Thai people, they know how to pray. They have a very specific way to pray to Buddha, and the way that they interact in the temple surprised me, because it's very not religious in a way. Yeah. Even though the country's very, it's Buddhist, it's not a religion. But when you go to the temple, they have a way to pray. And so I was like, oh, caught me by surprise.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Those two, they didn't, it was like a little bit opposite. Vietnam and Hong Kong, more Vietnam, so no religion.
Yeah.
No God.
No. Huh.
And, it's interesting when you talk about how you look at life there, it's self.
Yeah.
Family, country. There's no God. There's no God in the concept. It's very wild. And then Hindu, living in and traveling and working in India for more than 20 years. I spent many, many nights in India. I've probably lived there 2 years, as far as spending, 1 year permanently and 1 year traveling for sure. Wow. They got some wild, the religion there is just wild, right? It's anything can be a god. In the Hindu, you can really worship anything. There's no real limits to that. And just the under this sense of peace, and they are tied to the universe. A lot of their God stuff is gods. God's doing God stuff up in the universe.
Right.
So there's not a lot of it happens down here in a weird way, but up there the stories are all up there.
Yeah.
And not about the humanity side as much for me. Sure. At least my takeaway. I probably mangled a lot of my interpretations, but
no, I get it. It's very interesting. I would probably, it would be interesting to experience that, because I'm very, I'm Christian, and to experience those different religions in their countries would definitely be eye-opening, I think.
Yeah, it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
And it opens up that understanding, that compassion, the fact that, being centric to your country, your culture, and realizing there's other cultures and other people have a different version of God, and, and opening your eyes to the fact that, we're all humans and we all have the God.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Wow. Love it. On that note, where can people find you, connect with you, learn more, and listen to The Jar?
Yeah, sure. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, and all that great stuff. The best place to find us and interact, and it's a great landing spot, is thejar.live. So just www.thejar.live, LIVE. And that's a great place. We got one of the funnest places to go in there is if you can get to the YouTube channel and find one of our traveling shows. We did about 8 cities where we did a little Netflix 12-minute series. Really cute, really fun. And then that'll give you an idea of the flavor of the show.
Very cool. You guys, I'm going to put those links in the show notes. So go connect with Ken at thejar.live, right?
Yep, thejar.live.
And follow his show. Go check out his book. And just connect with him all overall and pick one of the questions out of the jar.
Yeah.
On that note, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for less words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
Yeah, I think we talked, I think we touched on it earlier, and it's I mean, I'm just going to steal a lot of my guest stuff, which is no matter what you're going through, no matter where you're at, you're not alone. And whatever, if you're going through something, and good and bad, this will pass. This too shall pass. And, that goes on both sides, Deanna.
Yeah.
The good times will pass. And so, drink those times in, enjoy those times, take those, enjoy those memories and embrace them. And the hard times will pass.
Yeah.
You're going to get through this. And the last one is you're good enough.
That's a good one. Yeah.
We are, you're good enough, just like you are, you're good enough. And, take pride in the fact of who you are and you're there, and just get up, man, and go make somebody's day. Give some grace, give yourself a little grace, and give another human some grace today. And you'll just find you're just going to be a lot happier.
Yeah.
It's going to make you put a smile on your face and somebody else's face. Go have a great day somewhere.
Yes. On that note, Ken, thank you so much for being a guest. I'm excited
Thank you, Deanna.
to see where your travels take you and those conversations. So this was a lot of fun, good getting to know you and what you're doing.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, you guys. This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic